Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and I have a special guest right here. You can see, actually she's this way. This is Megan Gill-Smith, and I met her last year at one of my masterminds, and she's amazing, and she wrote a book. I got to preview it, and I decided that I needed to share her with you. So I'm going to read her bio, and then we're going to talk about it because her message is really, really beautiful, and it totally resonated with me, the way I believe and the way that I think we all should live so vibrantly on this planet. So, living most of her life by the mirage of myths so many people believe, Megan lived an outwardly successful life, which sounds like a lot of us, right? But she was left with a deep feeling of longing on the inside. It was this longing for more fulfillment, greater happiness, and inner peace that set Megan on a quest to find deeper meaning in life and to create the life she's always wanted but never thought was possible. I think there's so many people who feel that way. In fact, I know that for a fact. On her path to awakening, Megan was able to bust the myths that had been holding her back from living the life of her dreams. And she developed a 10-step process that transformed her life. It is called Give a Shift, which I love. The process teaches you how to do 10 things. Give gratitude, incorporate meditation, visualize what you want, engage in daily affirmations, articulate positive intentions for others, stop the negativity, help and serve as many people as possible, invest in intentional thinking, foster continuous learning, and transmit feelings of love. All things that resonate with me 100%. So not only did Megan create the process, but she follows it daily herself. She is now sharing it with the world so that others can awaken their dreams and learn how to live bigger lives and better than they ever imagined. Megan's mission is to raise the consciousness of the entire planet. So her mission is only a little tiny bit. If she would have said the universe, then we would have said, okay. But, the entire planet, that's doable, Megan.
Have to start somewhere, right?
You do. And you know what? One mind at a time, because that's really where it expands to. So Megan lives in Connecticut, so we're connecting from me here in Utah and Megan on the East Coast.
Yes.
She lives with her husband, Michael, and daughters, Molly and Maisie, and she has a puppy named Pippa, which is, how do you pronounce that? Samoyed?
Samoyed, yeah.
Samoyed. That's why I didn't say it. So that's Megan. So Megan.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you expand on the little bio that you so graciously wrote up for me to read about you? Why don't you expand on that?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor and a privilege. You are a kindred spirit, and I knew the moment that we met, the universe sort of brought us together on that day.
It's true. I agree.
I've come to learn, through this process in my journey that there really are no accidents. And so meeting you was definitely not an accident. So thank you so much from the bottom of your heart for having me on, and hello to your tribe.
Yeah, for sure. We have some great people.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine like attracts like, right? So I could imagine how amazing your tribe is. So,
indeed.
Jane, I had been living the majority of my life by these 5 sets of beliefs that I now call the life's 5 biggest bullshits. And what I've come to realize is that the majority of people walking around the planet believe these same things. And it's really the belief in these five myths that end up holding us back. It ends up shaping our lives all too often, not for the better. And yet the majority of people have no idea how to change it, how to get in control of the driver's seat of their life. They don't even know that it's possible. And all too often, they don't even feel worthy of doing something about it. And really, that is where I was. I didn't know. I was stuck living a life that I didn't love. I didn't hate it, but it was void of purpose. It was void of meaning. It was void of passion. And I just thought there had to be more. There has to be a better way.
Yeah, and I think that's why when we met, there was just kind of it was a pretty quick connection. We didn't really get to have any super deep conversation, because it's really rare that a lot of the people that I interview, I don't get to meet them in person. So I met you in person first.
Yes.
And it was kind of like there was just a nice energy and aura about you, and you look people right in the eye, and so I think that there's been an involvement from what you said. You were successful, you were happy, but there was just some deep, and I think most people feel there's some deepness missing that's just a quiet happiness. That's just, you're not trying to prove something. You're not stressed about whatever. So when you asked me to read your book, I was completely honored, first of all, and I really loved it. It was a really beautiful message that I think is really absorbable. It's really doable. The action steps, I think that's where most people get caught up and they get tripped up. It's like, well, okay, I know I want this life, but how do I get it? And what are the action steps? So so maybe give us a brief story on how you got to this place where you were able to put all your experience into a book.
Sure. I think I'll step back and first perhaps give your listeners a little bit of a story as to how I ended up where I got, and then how I made sort of the transformation. So when I was 14 years old, my father asked me a pivotal question. And it was a question that would forever change and alter the course of my life. And he looked at me and said, "Megan, I know you are hurting, but are you going to let this experience define the rest of your life?" See, at that moment, I had just endured a year and a half to 2 years of horrific bullying in middle school. And I sank into a deep depression. And my father and my mother were beside themselves. And so after transferring schools to a private school a few towns away, I was still left feeling completely worthless. And my father asked me that question, "Megan, I know you are hurting, but are you going to let this experience define the rest of your life?" And it was a turning point for me, because it was right then and there that I decided that I was going to put a stake in the ground. And I was going to make something of myself. I was going to prove the bullies wrong. I was not going to be the loser they thought I was. And so from that moment on, I lived solely on what I call the competitive plane of existence. And I was going to use my outward success to prove my self-worth. It was my way of proving to them, but also really in hindsight, I was trying to prove to myself that I was worth something. And so for the next 25 years, that's the life that I lived. And what happened was that every time I achieved something materialistic, or I lived this outwardly successful life, the gratification was fleeting. And so I found myself living a life of severe highs followed by severe lows, because what I've come to realize is success gained on the competitive plane of existence is fleeting. It's not real. And you do it to try to prove something. And so that competition, that sense of competition, is one of the 5 false beliefs, the 5 bullshits that I talk about. The others being, that life is handed to you and there's nothing you can do about it. That was another sort of, belief that I had my whole life. I just thought that I had gotten unlucky in life. And I thought, I looked at other people who seemed to have it so easy, and I thought they just got the lucky cards. I thought the only way I could ever get something was to compete for it. And so that's really the world in which I lived. But I knew that there had to be more.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy, the whole bullying thing, because think about how heavy that is for a 14-year-old, or maybe when it started for you, you were like 12, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And you look at things, it's almost worse now because there's social media bullying.
Right.
I think these kids have this heavy burden of trying to be what, a friend of mine, her 15-year-old just got slammed on Snapchat because she was the ugliest of the cute girls.
Oh my
Came home
gosh.
sobbing. So it's kind of like, this is such an important message that hopefully people can get through sooner. So continue on what happened after, that was a pivotal moment for you when you were 14.
Yeah, that was. And let me, you brought up an interesting point, and it's something that I want to say, because in talking to so many people, what I have come to realize is that the way that bullying experience made me feel is not unlike experiences that most people have felt. See, I've come to realize that most people can recall a time when they were bullied. And now when I first say that statement, I get a lot of pushback. No, not me. I wasn't bullied. But that's because bullying is a misleading term. When we say that term, we immediately think of schools in the schoolyard, or cyberbullying now. But the term bullying just means someone making someone else feel bad. And so I see bullying happen all the time. I see parents pushing and bullying their children around. I've witnessed bosses bullying their employees, spouses bullying each other. So what are we trying to say here? It's when someone has made someone else feel less than, and their self-worth has been stripped away, as mine was. So that is something that I think almost everyone can relate to. It doesn't have to be the exact same story as mine or as severe as mine, but almost everyone that I've spoken to says that they too had an instant or a moment in their life where someone tried to make them feel less than. And so for me, usually what happens, one of two things happen. The person goes into a corner and sort of lives in a shell because they don't feel worth living to their full potential, or they try to prove the bullies wrong or prove the perpetrator wrong. And so that was that pivotal moment in my life. And my father asked me that question. That's what happened. And I couldn't figure it out. And so I lived in that world again for 2.5 decades, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Why was I living this outwardly successful life, but I was still lacking on the inside? And so I thought the only way to achieve was to work as hard as I could, work as long as I could, work as intensely as I could, compete for everything I could. And yet the more I did that, the more I found myself lacking. I lacked, deep fulfillment. I lacked purpose in my life. I lacked meaning. I lacked time with those I love most, my husband and my children. And I knew I had to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think what you're saying is going to resonate with so many people. So tell us what happened when you were able to shift. Like was there also another defining moment for you?
There was a defining moment when I just realized that there had to be more. And it was sort of one of those moments, Jane, where that there was divine intervention and whether it's the universe, spirit, source energy. I did not grow up in a religious home. I grew up with my father, who is a physicist, and my mother dabbled in spirituality, but nothing stuck. And so I was always out on a quest. I always felt like there has to be more than just us as human beings, as flesh and blood. And I just didn't know what it was. And so I had a moment where it was sort of like someone hit me over the head with a 2x4 shouting, "Wake up, sister," wake up. I had just turned 40 years old, and it was someone saying, "Wake up." And I thought, okay, I got that message loudly and clear. I don't know what I'm waking up to, but I know I have to start out on a quest to find answers that I have been longing for my whole life. So I started reading books on spirituality and on personal development. I started, studying all the great leaders and teachers and thinkers and philosophers. I started asking people that I admired who looked, like you, Jane. When I met you, I thought, my gosh, you were beaming, you were radiant with happiness and joy. It just comes out. And so I knew that there had to be something more to life than the life that I was living. I like to say that I was living in the get world. I lived constantly trying to get things, but it wasn't until I understood to live a life of giving that I actually started receiving.
It's always the case, every single time.
Every single time. And that has been one of the most important shifts in my life. And so through all of this reading and studying, I saw what, one person was doing, and I saw what another person was doing. So I created my own system. I took a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I started to put sort of these 10 steps together in my own program. And I will tell you, I had zero intention on sharing this process with anyone. It was a very private journey. I really didn't tell my husband much about it because I wasn't sure. I was sort of not sure what I was doing, but I knew I had to do something. And so I started putting these practices, these 10 steps into place every day. And within a very short amount of time, those around me, those who knew me the best, were saying to me, "Megan, what is going on with you? You have this new aura about you. You seem lighter and brighter and happier. I've never seen you like this." And I was sort of taken back. I thought, my gosh, is it that noticeable? And so I started sharing this process with those people closest to me. They would say, you know, what are you doing? Tell me what you're doing, because I want to feel that way too. So I started sharing it, but really only with those around me. And then, Jane, I will tell you, watching their transformation, watching the people I love most shift before my eyes was a miracle. It really was and still is a miracle. And it was through that, watching their transformation, that I knew, you know, I was talking to someone and this gentleman said, my gosh, you have to share this with the world. And I hadn't ever thought of that before. And he said, you know, even if it helps one person, you owe it. You can't keep this a secret to yourself and to just your inner circle. You have to get this message out there. And that's literally how the book was born. And it was at that moment that I opened up my laptop and just started writing the book.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think there's already a movement, and I think the wave is starting to get bigger of people who are becoming more enlightened. Yes. But there's still so much work to be done. There's so many people who are suffering emotionally, and I believe causing physical pain as well.
Absolutely.
And to me, it's like, it's so simple, but there's work that has to be done. It's not just, here's the steps. People have to be willing to put in the work. They have to study. They have to be willing to look at themselves as they really are.
Yes.
And
well, that was the big thing for me. You know, I lived in this mirage of this who I thought I wanted to be and who I thought I wanted others to perceive me to be, that I had to open up the wounds and allow myself to be that scarred girl and allow the healing to happen. I could no longer live, you know, with this mirage of myself. But you said something earlier, which is so true. And that's really why I developed the program, because even through all of this studying and learning, there was a ton of information. I got a ton of information, but no one said, okay, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. And by the way, here's what you do within those steps. And so I really designed an entire program, not just of information, but of actionable steps. And I'm not even sure if I've shared this with you, but it's turned into an online course as well. And I also teach, I go deeper sort of on a webinar as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. I read your book. I wrote a review for you, and I was
You did. You're in the book.
Oh.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I have to just tell you, I have a couple of questions now. So your book is out and on Amazon, right?
It is. Well, yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And
the course is launching.
And
as well.
Yeah, which is, and we'll give you a link below this video where you can connect in with Megan if you want to look at her book, because that's one of the things that I really love and why I'm sharing you, is because you have actionable steps.
Right.
And we all need these simple things to do, but because you get this information that resonates with you, and unless like I'm a lifelong learner, I'm a personal development person. Yeah. I still to this day cannot wait to sit down with a really beefy, thick book. Like I'm going through Course of Miracles right now, which is, big book. I
am as well. We'll have to share notes.
Definitely. And to me, this is like, you never stop learning.
Correct.
But I love your 10 there's steps that are actionable. So when you say that you felt like you were hit over the head with the 2x4, was there actually something that happened that was like what happened when your dad said to you, are you going to let this define you? Or was it just this deep, you were finally sick of there's just got to be more than this, and you just started, was there like a pivotal moment like that?
There was. It's a very private, personal moment, and one that is, well, no, I'm happy to share it. It doesn't, it might not make sense. It was as quick as if I had been struck by lightning, and I found myself on my knees in my bedroom sobbing. And through the tears, I became awakened.
There you go.
I just became awakened. I didn't know to what, and I didn't know where I was going, but it was like, the darkness was removed, and I instantly felt light. And I knew that there was more. And at that moment, I set out on that quest to find out exactly what what that more was and what I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah. And I think that we all know we have a higher purpose, but to get out from underneath can seem so daunting.
Yes.
And there's so many ways to numb ourselves with social media, with alcohol, with too much food. There's so many ways to numb ourselves just to cover up that. How do I simply, is there, and there's more, but you kind of go, well, how do I can see the light up there, but there's no way for me to get out.
Right.
And we all put on this face, we go out into our life, we live our days, we for our family, but no one really knows that there's some deep suffering because we don't express, or maybe we keep ourselves busy, or I think everybody has that deep thing in them, that lightness. We're all love. We're all
completely.
We're all coming to here. It comes to this. Yes. And it's love. It's simple.
Absolutely. We come from love. We are love, and we are all connected. And, that was, each time I busted a bull shift, it was like the world became brighter. It's like I looked through life through an entirely new set of lens. That is just remarkable, that I didn't even know existed before. And I think that's also part of the problem. People might know that they want to do more or be more. They don't even know that the universe is on their side. They don't even know that they are, connected to this. And once you understand that, my gosh, the fog really begins to lift, and you enter a whole new world of possibilities that was just oblivious to you before. And it could, again, a lot of times I find that it's because people have had some sort of traumatic experience where they've been made to feel less than, and they think that, easy, beautiful, blissful lives are only for, those people, not for me. I'm not worthy of it. Whether they even say that or not, deep down in their subconscious, that's what they think. And so that's why they just start living their life. They live the life that was handed to them every day in a reactionary situation, versus being proactive and getting in the driver's seat and designing the life of their dreams.
Yeah. And it sounds like this cloud out there, like the life of my dreams. But I would suggest, even right now at this point, as we're going through this nice little conversation, that, I would go get her book. It's a wonderful read. It's really a beautiful story. And it's, it's where we all want that. And, we can get to the end of our lives and live in regret. In fact, one of the things I love to tell people to do is go visit a nursing home and ask the people who live there what their biggest regret is. And
absolutely.
Tell you, almost everyone will tell you that they regretted that they didn't do the things that they were afraid to do. And sometimes the things that bring our life into the most brilliance are things that are the hardest, or the things that we need to search deeply for. And then it becomes really, really easy. It's like giving service. You think, well, how do I bring more abundance to my life? I serve others.
Absolutely.
And more generous. Then abundance flows to you.
Absolutely.
So you hear that, but people are skeptical. Well, how can I bring more abundance if I spend all my time giving? Well, you have to do it to experience it.
Yeah.
You can't just think, oh, that's just a nice thought. But if I give away what I have less. I mean, it's just such an interesting concept, don't you think?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the bullshifts, is that abundance is our birthright, and abundance is not a zero-sum game. So that, so many of us are taught to believe that if, we should not ask for too much in our life. Don't take more than our fair share, because that suddenly leaves less for other people. Yeah. But I have to, infinite resources are available to all of us. Just because someone has more of something, whether it's love, joy, happiness, wealth, it doesn't matter. It doesn't leave less for others. The more abundant we are, the more abundance we have to give and share with the world.
Totally. But this goes to everything, like the company I have people ask me all the time, well, do you ever worry about your competition? And what do you think about and I'm like, there's no competition.
There is no such thing as competition. Imagine when I figured that one out, because my whole life had been spent competing for everything. And when I came to bust that bullshit, holy moly.
Yeah. So you said you have five myths?
Yes. The 5 bullshifts.
So what are they?
So bull shift number one is that, life is handed to you and there's nothing you can do about it. You get what you get and you don't get upset. That's that one. Bull shift number two is that to get anything in life, you have to compete for it. So it's all about that competition. Number three is that we shouldn't ask for more than our fair share in life, right? Because there's not enough to go around. Number four is that your thoughts don't impact your reality. That was a big one for me. I had no idea about the power of thought. I lived kind gestures on the outside, but often had feelings of envy or jealousy on the inside. And boy, oh boy, is that like poison running through your veins. And so I had no idea about the power of thought shaping your reality. And then five, I created this fictitious world that I call the Jinx World. And believe it or not, so many people live in this Jinx world because, especially for those of us who did not feel worthy, God forbid we expect something good to really happen, or else we might jinx the outcome. And so those were really the five beliefs that shaped my reality. And one by one, I was able to, what I call, bust those bullshits and replace them with new universal truths. But Jane, the interesting thing is I couldn't even begin to develop or practice my 10-step process until these five bullshifts were busted and replaced with universal truths. It's like once that move was made, it set the stage. I was mentally, physically, spiritually ready to now become the person I was meant to be. It couldn't happen unless those barriers were removed. And it's so interesting because the majority of people, I believed all five of them. Now, most people, you don't have to believe all five, but most people believe at least 2, 3, 4 of them. Every time.
So did you come up with these as you were doing your studying and reading? And did you come up with these five? Did you find these, or did you find them?
No. I came up with them. I thought, again, when I realized that the power of thought, I thought, my gosh, I never considered it. And then I stopped and I looked back at all the things that were manifested into my own life. And sure enough, I had brought them into my life. All of the successes and all of the failures, and then the same thing with competition. It's like the more I learned, the wisdom just started to surface. And I was able to, I didn't even know I had those bullshifts. It became clear after I replaced them with the truths. I thought, oh my gosh, I believed this my whole life. That's not true. Oh, I believed this my whole life. That's not true, And then I packaged them into the five bullshifts.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where are you now as compared to when you first kind of had your epiphany as an adult and started studying and researching? What was your timeline?
Gosh, only about 1.5 years.
So short.
Yes.
So people this just shows you we can change our lives
in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And again, I had no idea. If you asked me 2 years ago what I was doing, because I also own a marketing agency. That's what I thought I was doing with my life, right? A fancy marketing agency that makes a lot of money. That's what my focus was. 2 years ago, if you said that I would be an author and a spiritual teacher, and I wouldn't have believed you, but clearly the universe had different plans for me.
Well, you know what? We all need each other. We're all connected. And so when you have these big shifts and these epiphanies, and you realize that life can be so much different than the way you were living it. Yes. The thing is it's our duty to share with our fellow human beings. It's really our duty, and not to overwhelm people. But the thing is, it's so much easier than we think, than we're led to believe that it is. I mean, life is not designed to be hard.
No, it's not. And I didn't understand that for most of my life. And it is so, it brings me to tears. There are often times throughout the day where I just have tears of joy streaming down my face. It's such a level of bliss and euphoria.
Yeah.
It's such a sense of connectedness and love and light that it just brings me tears of joy.
That's awesome. And
it's really, you know what? My husband is amazing. We had a great marriage before my transformation. My children are amazing. I had a great relationship with them, but the extent to which it's even is mind boggling. And to
sure.
them, my little ones who are 11 and 4 now, all about this, and see the light just beaming out from them, and hear what their conversations are about about all of this stuff. So, parenting to this and having it impact my relationship with my husband has brought me such a level of joy that I just would never have ever even imagined.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be in, because I think when you are enlightened on some small level, and then you expand on it by study and research and surrounding yourself with knowledge and people who resonate with this message. In fact, when you were saying sometimes you just sit and have joy, and you remind me of Eckhart Tolle, when he said he used to sit on the bench and he just sat for days and days and months, and he was just in bliss.
In bliss.
On the park bench in bliss. I mean, this is how we're supposed to be.
This is how we're supposed to live. And we have somehow society has, twisted it a little bit. And so I am hopeful that we can.
It's been twisted a lot.
I know.
Let's just say, because honestly, in my realm of health and wellness and all of this, our bodies are designed for wellness. And we've been taught by the medical industry, and it's an industry. We do need doctors. They're loving, giving people, but they've been pushed off track. But we have been told to believe that our human body breaks down and causes us pain.
Right.
Now, when we get injured, we have pain, but it heals and we no longer have pain. But now we have a place for the emotional pain to go, because now we can't, there's so much emotion and anger and rage and trying to be perfect and all of that now our physical body is in pain. And then there's this whole industry to help us get out of pain. And that's not, there's the whole study of epigenetics and psychosomatic, the mind-body healing.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge and beautiful. And the thing is, we're designed for wellness and happiness and love. And it's a beautiful, simple message.
It is. And yet it's so powerful. It doesn't cost anything. Yes, it requires work, but it's not, it's so worth it. The payoff is so worth it. And that's really what I tried to give readers in the book and in the course. I try to really hold their hand through the process, and I break it down into sort of, what you need to do, not only the 10 steps, but the first 30 days, because what I found was that the first 30 days were the most transformational.
Right. And I love that about your book. When I read your book, I loved that about that, because it was here's what okay, I can do this for 30 days.
Yeah, do this for 30 days. I lay it out exactly what to do for the 30 days, because you're working to rewire your brain and create new memory structure.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, from days 31 through the rest of your life, here's your life guide. Now you got to keep it up,
So here's the rest of your life.
Here's the rest of your life.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Let me see if I can find these. Because I wrote some stuff down, because I knew we would just get caught up, and I want to give some people. If you were to kind of give a bullet point of, so past the 30 days, or maybe in the 30 days, what are some of the bullet points that you could say are actionable steps that you cover in the book, just to kind of give them a taste of what's in there?
Yeah. I think one of the most powerful transformational tools that one can practice is gratitude. It's the daily habitual practice of gratitude, and again, I do really think that all 10 steps work together as part of a puzzle. But if you want me to give a couple of just quick hits, it's gratitude. It's really coming from a place of gratitude for things you take for granted. I say that people live in a conveniently grateful world, meaning something has to be worthy of deserving their gratitude, right? Something big, a new job, a baby, a house, something like that. But what about all the miracles that surround us every single day? The miracle of our human body, the miracle of reproduction, whether it's a plant or an animal, the miracle of the universe. We're swirling through space right now. And yet here we are, you're in Utah and I'm in Connecticut. So being really deliberately grateful, and I suggest you do 5 minutes of gratitude in the morning, and I walk you through how to do that, but then living your life throughout the day full of gratitude. I'll tell you something else for me that has been amazing is meditation. I had never incorporated meditation into my life. In fact, I sort of poo-pooed it. I did, Right. I'm too busy. My brain can't quiet down. I can't, sit down and wait, quote, quote, waste 20 minutes twice a day for something as silly as meditation. Holy moly. Meditation really gets our subconscious, gets our consciousness back to source energy from where we came, and reinvigorates us and allows us to keep connected to source energy throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think we need that more than ever because of just how we're so inundated with technology. Everybody has their smartphones with them all the time. So to disconnect and do meditation, because my favorite is to sit in a warm place in my house where the sun's coming in through the window with nothing, like no technology near me.
Yes.
And just someplace quiet. And this is a good time. One of my favorite ways to meditate is to use gratitude. Like to start with, what am I thankful for? And it might be the smile on your child's face.
Absolutely.
That can be that simple.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so, I think gratitude and meditation is amazing. I talked about service, serving, living a life of serving. The other thing is, stopping the negativity. That's a chapter in the book, and I'm sure you can recall that, but ridding my life of negativity has been one of the most liberating and freeing things I have ever done. And the first step in the book is, I say, before you can even rid your life of negativity, you have to assess the amount of negativity that surrounds you. So for the first 1 or 2 weeks, I show people how to assess the amount of negativity that is permeating throughout their life, whether it's consuming newspapers, watching TV, what's blaring out on the radio stations, engaging in judgmental and critical conversations. I was really appalled at the amount of judgment and criticism that people do. I still am, because I'm so in tune with it now that I overhear it and sense it, and it makes me very uncomfortable, but I was numb to it. I think most of us are numb to the amount of negativity that surrounds us and that we engage in. So just that one simple act of being aware of the negativity and removing it from your life gives you hours back that you didn't have to now do something else with.
I agree. And I think it's a little easier said than done when you have negative people in your life, like even family members.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard. And I've really reached a point where I can't be around negative people. I've had to take negative people out of my friendship circle because it hurts me. Like to say it brings my energy down. That's of course that's what it does, but it puts me into depression. Not that deep, I'm in my bed depression, but I feel bad. And I've come to a point in my life where I can't surround myself with people who are negative. And sometimes that includes some of my family members. Agreed.
And that is one of the hardest things. That is hard because you can't just, change jobs or change your family or your friends as easily as you would like to.
You can change your friends easier than your family.
Absolutely. I do give some strategies in the book with how to deal with negative family members, but I, like you're saying it hurts you. It makes me squirm. I get so, it just makes me so uncomfortable to be around negativity. It like is awkward and it just hurts my soul. I just don't like it. And when you're in tune with it, it's both a blessing and a curse, right? Because you're able to see it everywhere. But the good news is that you can remove and replace it. And that's really
you have control. Like I haven't watched the TV news for 15 years. I don't watch anything. Sometimes I'll watch a movie, but I'm also really picky even about a movie I'll watch. I would rather be busy or interacting or reading, but it is nice to disconnect with a movie. But to sit and watch TV, that would be one of the number one things people do to enlighten themselves and raise their vibrational energy is to stop watching, if anything, the news. Stop watching the news.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I sometimes get a challenge question from people who say that, how could you do that? You're the mother of 2 small children. You need to know what's going on in the world. And you're sticking your head in the sand. And I say, trust me, what's important will find its way to me. It always does. So I'm not living.
You don't have to hear the gory details of every little thing that happened. I'm always in the loop what's happening.
Absolutely.
I always keep up with what's going on, but I don't sit and fixate and watch the news. And I see people who do that.
Oh yes.
And oh my gosh, their life is just a spinning little world of negativity.
I know it is. It absolutely is. And they don't even know they're bringing it on themselves, No,
and they really, they do that on purpose to suck you in. Yeah. And Yeah, you think the world's worse than it is. In fact, did you ever listen to Peter Diamandis talk?
Oh, yes.
I mean, the world is getting better.
Absolutely.
I mean,
The world
people
is
need to read that book, the book Abundance or Bold.
abundance. Abundance and Bold by Peter. Yeah, Peter's amazing.
Yeah, so it's absolutely awesome. Okay, so obviously you guys can tell from Megan and I talking for a while here that we could talk for a really long time. So I don't want you to click on this video and go, oh my heavens, they talked for 3 hours. I don't have time. So I'm going to put links below where you can connect with Megan. I would really highly suggest that you pick up her book, and it is called Give a Shift, which I really love that play on words. It's such a nice little, give a crap, people.
Well, you have to. It is. You are going to shift, but you actually have to give a crap. This is serious stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
You get one shot at this.
Yeah, and it's never too late.
Right.
And you're never too young.
Correct.
To understand this message. And if there's anyone out there who's listening who's a very young person who maybe is in the midst of bullying, there is you've probably read The 4 Agreements.
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness. The 4 Agreements is a book that shifted my life probably about 15, 16 years ago. Okay. The little book. And one of the things is to not take anything personally and to never make assumptions. So if you learn the one of the things that has carried me through, sometimes even now as a person, in my mid 50s, someone will say something to me and I'll be like, it will be personal. Or maybe someone sends me an email that's not very nice because wherever they are in their world or whatever, sure. I'll be like, it momentarily will hurt my feelings. And I'll be like, that really wasn't anything about me. Why would I take that personally? Right. So I think there's a couple of things. If there's a young person or even an older person who feels like they're being bullied, especially on places of social media, right? Step out of that for a minute. And there's a couple. I would really highly suggest that you get Megan's book, Give a Shift, and look at the 4 Agreements too. That's a beautiful resource. My youngest son, who's 34, went through rehab about 3 years ago, and that was the book they studied. I was so happy.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It changed him. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And we all have stuff, to
right.
say,
absolutely.
Jane's life, my life, right. We all make our life look perfect on social media.
Right.
And, I have a son who went through rehab and struggled with alcoholism all through his 20s. Mm-hmm. And we all have that. We all have things that cause us pain that we all are working through and working with and helping to raise our family members up. So, yes. So Megan, thank you so much for joining me. We had some fun little technical difficulties.
We did. Did we get through it?
Yeah, it was like, she's in the 3rd room that she was at with her computer. Is it up on a box?
No, now I'm on the desktop.
Oh, that's right. You're on your desktop. But it was kind of fun, actually.
So thank you for having me. Thank you to all of your listeners and your viewers and your tribe. I'm grateful to you. You are an inspiration to
thank you.
And to me, and you are just such a glowing spirit, and I'm honored to call you my friend.
Well, the thing is, I love the people that I get to connect with in my business, in my life. So I'm really strategic about who I share. So I really thank you for having your epiphanies and for your dedication to helping make the world a better place, because really that's what it's all about. We're here on this planet to help each other and realize we're not disconnected. We're all connected. Yep. Whether you think you're disconnected, whether you think you're sitting over here all by yourself, and all those people who, whatever. Yes. We're all one. We're all just.
We are all one.
There's a link here, not just to her book, but to her online course.
Awesome.
So if you want to connect with Megan, please do, because I know if you're ready for some major shifts and to pull yourself out of whatever you're in, I know Megan would be a great resource for you. So Megan, thank you again.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you soon.
I know, I can't wait to see you too. So have a great day. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.